So we're starting lectures for week 5, and this week we want to talk first of all about composite functions. We've been looking at functions where we said every x input provides one y output. Now we want to create a new function by substituting one function into another function. So if we're given two functions, f and g, we show that by writing f composed with g. Notice that's an open circle. It is not multiplication. So f composed with g of x is defined as the f of the g of x. So notice where usually we would write f of x, we've put the entire function g of x. Let's try evaluating some composite functions. Remember that we're using substitution. And I think the substitution is often the most difficult part of composite functions. So we have two functions here, f of x, 2x squared minus 3x, and the g of x, 4 times x. We're looking at f composed with g of 1. Let's use that definition. We said that this is the f of, in this case, the g of, not the g of x, the g of 1. There we go. So keep f of, but inside we're going to put the g of 1. Now look what's happened. We've taken this x in g and changed it to 1. That means we need to change this to 1. So we have 4 times 1, or the f of 4. Now I've changed x in f to 4. So just like we were doing last week, each of these x's need to be substituted with 4. 2 times 4 squared minus 3 times 4. So we have 2 times 16 minus 12. This equals 20. So one of the questions you should be wondering is, does order matter? We just found f composed with g of 1. Now we want to look at g composed with f of 1. Notice the change in order. In the first question, f was first. In the second question, g is first. So we're finding now g of the f of 1. Why don't you find the f of 1 so that you can put it into the brackets here? The f of 1, we're changing x again to 1. So we have 2 times 1 squared minus 3 times 1. This is the g of 2 minus 3, or the g of negative 1. Now we're going to our function g, and we've changed x to negative 1. So we have 4 times negative 1, or negative 4. That substituting can be a little bit tricky to start. You might want to go back and try these questions again. So if you've reviewed those questions or don't think you need to, why don't you try question 3, where we're composing f with f? Remember that definition. This is f of the f of negative 2. So we're taking x, changing it to negative 2 in the function f. So with your first substitution, you should have found the f of negative 2 is equal to 14. Now we need to find the f of 14 by substituting 14 into each of the x's in our function f. The f of 14 then was 250. One more question. Why don't you try g composed with g of -1? First, write out the equation using the definition. Check your brackets. It's easy to get a little bit confused here. And this time we've changed x to -1, so we need to change x. We found that the g of -1 is -4, and now we are going to substitute one more time -4 into g. So spend some time with these composite functions and evaluating them. And then in the next lesson, we'll look at simplifying composite functions without evaluating.